Looking at the clock, it is Friday, September 5th. Can you believe it? Already going into week 2. Rob Brown in Memphis, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida. A lot to cover today. Got the band playing college football roundtable on a Friday. Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, DawgNation, joins us. Had him on 3 or 4 weeks ago, and man, that was some of the best we've ever had. Frank Duffy in Baton Rouge, down there covering the Go Tigers. I'm going to tell you right now, take a picture with your phone of the QR code. Follow us on X, Sidelines, at Sidelines_live, also YouTube and Facebook. Like 8 channels we're live on, and then Brenda's putting reels up constantly. And I'm telling you, it's nonstop content on this channel. We got like 8 shows, the SEC one-stop place to go. And again, we do it every day. So Monday through Friday on this show at 8 a.m. Central. So let's do it. Let's get started. Bring in Mike and Frank. And I think the number one question or statement we want to say is, Mike, there was certainly no overreaction to what happened. Frank, we can hear in the background, but Mike, overreaction on weekend number 1 in the SEC was incredible. I was in Atlanta at our daughters there in Sandy Springs watching a lot of football. Thought I was going to sneak off to Tennessee, Syracuse, but grandkids, you can't get away. And it was fun, but I watched a lot of football. But man, don't you love it how other people are going to go spend $69 million after 14 games, that Kalen DeBoer can't coach anymore. He got a lobotomy. Make some sense out of all this stuff because you're very good at it. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, some of Alabama's best players are playing for other teams right now. The best players, Caleb Downs, Ohio State bought Alabama quarterback Julian Sand and Caleb Downs, and Michigan bought Justice Haynes, 5-star running back Georgia really wanted. So I'd say that if you take away 3 of the best players off of any football team, they're probably not going to be as good.
Yeah. So, you watched Texas go to Ohio State, and I thought Texas would cover. I thought defense would travel. If you'd have said Texas goes on the road, only gives up 14 points, yeah, I'm thinking they're going to win. Did you see it that way?
Yeah, when they give up 203 yards and 11 first downs. So, yeah, I thought the same thing. But, Sark's got to wear this one. 1 of 5 on 4th down conversions. It ain't like Arch Manning can't play. It's not like we didn't know this moment was coming. This is a case of a coach not having his quarterback ready. And, he's got, as you said, he's got an elite defense to, the Arch gets to work against every day if that's what the coach wants. And there's plenty of opportunities. Texas had plenty of opportunities last year to get Arch Manning some experience. I thought they did in a couple games. I was a little surprised they didn't use him in the SEC championship game. Never mind getting experience. The guy would have brought a different element in the red zone. But no, I think Sarkisian's got to wear this one. And yeah, Arch got a little tense in the moment, but that's because he wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared for the moment. This is where the coaching comes in. You got to have your guy ready for what the defense is going to do. You got to have answers. You got to dial up the right plays at the right times. You got to be able to make a 4th and 1 with the game and the balance in the 3rd quarter. So as much as I like Steve Sarkisian, it's a big fail for the Texas head coach and his staff and offensive staff.
Yeah. I love this guy, Frank. You ask him a question, tell you what he's thinking. We need more of Mike Griffith. Frank, jump in here from Baton Rouge in some cafe where there's some good food, I'm sure.
Well, this is Coffee Call. It's the best cafe au lait in the state of Louisiana. With all due respect to my New Orleans hometown, Baton Rouge actually has a great scene up here, great food scene. Mike, great seeing you again. As always, I really enjoyed having you on 3 weeks ago. Mike is exactly right. Talking about Texas and talking about Alabama, it's kind of like a racehorse race. Being a horse owner, I like to use that analogy. Look, John Henry, one of the oldest, greatest horses, one of the best winning horses of all time, he stumbled out the gate. That's Alabama. We also have the newest, hottest model, the 3-year-old that's surprising, turning everybody's head. That's Texas. They stumbled as well. Whereas the entire pack, LSU, Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, we've all got a good start. But that doesn't mean the race is over. We're only at the 8th pole. We got to come all the way around. So, look, before we start burying Alabama, before we start burying Texas, We got a lot of work to do. But I will tell you, I was impressed with Georgia. I know they didn't cover, but Kirby Smart just methodically goes out and puts together a great team with really good, second and third teams. Maybe not what they had a couple of years ago, but Florida, we're going to find out a lot about them next week when they come here to Baton Rouge. But we've only just begun this SEC race. But I like our positions as those of us that are 1-0, as opposed to those that are 0-1 and all hell breaking loose.
Yeah.
All of my friends in Tuscaloosa, as you know, Rob, have had to be talked off the ledge over the last 4 days.
Yeah.
And anybody that can give them some help and guidance won't, and that's me. I was 18 years without the GOAT. They need to relax and settle in. It's a long trek. It's not a sprint. It's going to be a marathon. They better get used to it. Mike, what do you see? What do you see for this next week? As we always find out, we always say, from week 1 to week 2, you have the huge most advancement that you've got. Who do you see taking that next big step and maybe surprising us that we didn't see in the first week that we're going to see in this next week? Where they actually show a little bit more of what they got.
Frank, I don't know if this Alabama racehorse is eating the same kind of green that Texas and Ohio State is. I think theirs is a lot greener, if you know what I'm saying.
That's right.
I don't know that Alabama is quite as fixable immediately as Texas. I think, as I said, Alabama's best players are other places. You're not going to be able to get Caleb Downs back on your defense with Julian staying under center. There's no magic wand to be waved. Now, that said, I still think Alabama-Georgia's a 50-50 game. I wasn't as impressed as maybe I thought I would be with Kirby Smart's offense. I think their defense might be, among the best in the league, if not the best in the league. Texas obviously looked pretty good, and LSU was pretty tough as well. But Georgia had to convert on 4th down on both of their first 2 scoring drives. And if that's Tennessee, you're not going for it. You're kicking a field goal on those drives, if you're Kirby. And then their 3rd touchdown came on a 20-yard field after a block punt. So it's not like they went up and down the field on Marshall. They didn't. In fact, they only had 1 play that went for more than 25 yards. Conversely, Lane Kiffin had 7 over 30 for Ole Miss. Different mentality, different coaches, but when push comes to shove, there's questions about Georgia's ability to throw the ball downfield and run the ball effectively in short yardage. Generally 1 of 4 on 3rd and 3 is shorter. So there's a lot of against Marshall. So there's a lot of questions about the Georgia offense. As far as LSU goes, that was the most complete effort. That's to me and beating Clemson on the road, even if Clemson's, top receiver went out the first quarter, that's still a tough place to win. And for the defense, for them to win it the way they won it, I think was just as important that the defense was able to hold Clemson out of the end zone late. Clemson almost scrambled and forced that game to overtime, where they're 17 yards away. So that says a lot about how far the defense has come. And I actually asked Brian Kelly yesterday about this and about coming when you're a super successful coach, as Brian was, Grand Valley State, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, unprecedented success at all 3 of those places. What is it when you come to the SEC, you don't have that immediate success? And he said, you're not going to come into this league and out X's and O's or out scheme anybody. It's having better players. And LSU went out and spent, and they got the number 2 portal class. They got the impact guys they need. Alabama didn't. Okay, they had the number 61 portal class. So one school's spending money, the other school's not. And this is where we're at. And nobody wants to, well, what about recruiting? And what you got to keep those guys. You can have as many number 1 signing classes as you want, but if 3 or 4 or 5 of those guys is going other places, that those stars don't mean anything. And the guys that, the ESPN, but not all those are created equally. Those guys aren't in equal stages of development. They may not have been recruited for that scheme. So you can throw all the metrics you want at it. At the end of the day, if you're losing players that would be starting for you, that are starting for the University of Michigan, Ohio State, I mean, the SEC better be careful. The Big Ten's buying them up. And the Big Ten's won the last 2 national titles. And what's going to reverse this trend is money. And it's not going to come out of the TV contract, because we know the Big Ten has a bigger TV contract. The Big Ten has the 3 biggest television markets behind it too. So there's a reason for that money. And so what is the SEC? How are they going to answer? I don't know the answer to that ultimately. And that's the 25,000-foot view. Now, as far as right now, the immediacy of it, you say we're going to find out about Florida in 2 weeks. I think we might find out about Florida against USF. I mean, they beat Boise State, a playoff team, for what it's worth. I don't know if the Gators can win that game convincingly. I think the spread's 17.5. That's probably a pretty good number, depending on how you feel. I mean, the Gators played probably one of the worst teams in college football. Long Island U. I mean, I don't even know who. Can you imagine the guys that go to Long Island? I mean, I played football for Long Island U. What does that guy look like? Where did he come from? Was that his dream growing up to play for Long Island U?
Yeah.
Probably not, because they're the Sharks, and that name's only 6 years old. They used to be the Blackbirds.
Yeah.
I mean, so what is Long Island U? I mean, could they have found a worse opponent? No, Billy Napier, we don't have any penalties or give up any. Oh, I'm just glad the other team showed up, Coach. I'm glad the bus didn't break down. At least did they come on a bus, or did they take public transportation?
Took the wrong transfer at Coney Island.
Yeah, let's not. That's right. Let's not get carried away.
I think an inter scrimmage game would have been a little more of a challenge, to be honest with you.
Probably, especially if Billy Napier was calling the plays. I mean, there's still questions about Billy Napier. I mean, there's still questions. There's still questions about DJ Lagway. I'm not convinced that. And I was bullish on Florida in the offseason, but this Lagway injury that's lagged on has me concerned with Florida football, and especially if they get some early false sense of security off of it. We're going to find out against South Florida. That's going to be intriguing. And obviously Oklahoma, Michigan. Poor Oklahoma, poor Brent Venables. Look at that schedule. My goodness, Texas and Oklahoma came in the league, and and Texas, you come over here. Here's the VI sweep, Pete. Here's the schedule where you only play. And Oklahoma, get ready for hell, because we're going to give you the toughest schedule, and forget about you. I mean, let's face it. I mean, these teams did not come in on equal footing, guys.
No. Well, two things. One, Long Island whatever had 11 tackles for losses against Florida. That I don't care who you're playing. That's something. What does Chuck Oliver say? That's not nothing. Okay. Number two, you talked about the recruiting classes. How many number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has A&M had? How much money have they spent in the last 5 years? And they produce a litany of 8-win teams. You're right. It's not just a all things are equal type deal. My son got to drive back from Jackson Hole. He goes, Dad, I want to stop off for the Oklahoma-Michigan game. I said, I'll get you tickets. And I said, what about those 3 dogs you got in the car? He goes, yeah. He goes, it was just a thought. I'm like, you can't just leave them in the car. But, hey, I'll tell you what, this college football season, when you're in Atlanta and you live there, I mean, right outside of Athens, Frank, you're in Big Canoe. Man, everywhere you go, it's the United Nations. There's Gator fans everywhere. Georgia, obviously, Auburn, Georgia Tech. Man, thinking about this money part of it, how many times can you keep going to your boosters and shaking the cup before they go, look, man, it's like giving your kid an allowance and he's blowing it on weed all the time. I mean, you've got to, there's got to be some sense. You're from Michigan, Mike. You know those people up there. 75% of the TV sets in America live in the geographical footprint that is the Big Ten. There's a lot of guys that look like Archie Bunker that love Big Ten football, drinking Ham's beer, old style, something Croissant. How do we combat that? Because we don't have the population they do in the SEC footprint.
No, but that market's also stratified, and they also have a lot more professional sports teams, and there's a lot more competition for the entertainment dollar. So our dollars in the South and Southeast are a little bit more concentrated in college football, because we don't have that marriage to NFL season tickets or NBA or NHL or Major League Baseball. We don't have the pro teams that stratify the market. I mean, when you go in the Midwest, the pro sports are king. So there is some advantage to the Southeast that this is a much larger part of our culture. And when you talk about how much money can the boosters keep giving, I mean, look, we're in a professional model right now with players getting paid. And ultimately, professional franchises are owned by guys with limitless money. And that's where we're going. And what colleges have the owners, alumni, with limitless money to spend that place enough value that they're going to, instead of, providing, not to say they still can't provide for generations of their own family, but they're going to give more to the football program than they are their grandson. I mean, this is kind of where we're at, and who does it matter to? And all these programs. And now they've recently said that, these collectives that are related to the university booster can be used for NIL deals. So to me, that's the easy part. I mean, you can come up with ways to come up with NIL deals that are going to pass the sniff test. All right. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. You have an autograph show or 3-day football camp, and boom, you're through the door. So that's not really the hard part. The hard part is who's going to put the money up, and when is Alabama going to realize, hey, everybody's paying now. So, you don't have that talent advantage. And, to sit at this table, this is what do you mean I don't come in the VIP? I always used to get in the VIP. No. You got to pay the fare. You got to pay your money to get these players. You got to pay these kids to stay. They don't want to just stay because Bear Bryant coached here. They don't want to just stay because they need to get paid. And they don't care about the tradition. They're there for the money. This is where we're at in college sports right now.
And the top 5% of the boosters are going to be paying 95% of the load. That's where it's coming from, to Mike's point. I can look across this parking lot right here in Baton Rouge, and I see a Raising Cane's, and as long as Ty Graves is selling chicken strips, we're going to have great players at LSU. And I'm looking at the drive-through line. We got about 10 cars in there. So, look, I think we might be able to get a linebacker or two just this morning. So, no, you're exactly right. This is a whole new ball game. The bag man from Tuscaloosa is no longer involved. This is a business. This is an absolute business. And don't you think for a second that universities like Florida, LSU, Georgia, they're going to find money because they're printing money. They've got money oozing from all sources. It doesn't matter where it comes from now. All you got to do is go out and get the players. But here's the thing. You still have to discern which players are right for you, and you got to get lucky. Look, we lost Bryce Underwood because Larry Ellison's girlfriend has a hankering for Michigan and liked Bryce Underwood. And so he flipped from us 3 days before signing day, went to Michigan. Well, what does that do? It frees up millions of dollars for us to go get a defense. Our defense this year, which looked fantastic. I'm sitting in Memorial Stadium. I'm like, who are these guys? I haven't seen this since 2007. I mean, it was incredible. But we don't get that defense if we don't have all that savings from Bryce Underwood, which we would have had to pay to begin with. So it's not only coming up with the money, but it's having talent, assessment. But it's also a little luck, because just like in anything in life, any investment in life, Rob will tell you, he's a financial analyst. Some work out, some don't.
Well, let me interject this, Frank. It's not just so you've got this collection of talent, right? But you still need the catalyst. You still need to have those players. You still need to have Weeks. You still got to have that guy that lights everybody on fire. And that's partly assessment too. You want to recruit the right guys, build the right culture, but it helps when you've got a catalyst like a Weeks that can get everybody fired up. That can bring those guys are unique. Georgia had Brock Bowers. He was special. I would tell you, Georgia doesn't win either of their national titles without Brock Bowers. One guy. You can make the case Jalen Carter. I know he had a bad moment last night, but Jalen Carter was one of those guys. Yeah. Weeks is one of those guys. Al Wilson back in the day at Tennessee, one of those guys. You got to have those guys in your program. Alabama is missing that catalyst.
Yep.
They're missing that.
Spikes from Auburn, that type of drive guy.
That's it.
I'll throw something at you, and I just got a text from someone down in Mountain Brook. There's a Hampton Inn with Miss Vivian Glover. I love staying with her on 280 in Mountain Brook. Looks like there's a Raising Cane store going in next door. It used to be another fast food franchise, but Raising Cane making their presence on 280. Boy, I hope that's true. Aubrey likes that better than any of them. But let me ask you about Missouri. That's a program. I've been to Columbia a few times. We go through there on the way to pheasant hunt in South Dakota, and always stop in Columbia at Cracker Barrel. First ones in the door. Man, they got some money, and they've put over $300 million into the football stadium recently. I like Eli Drinkwitz. Gotta love a guy that wears a blue and white striped seersucker suit to media days. And I asked him. I said, "Have you ever thought about marrying the passion of the Cardinal fan base, like Braves country that they do, in with the Missouri fans?" He goes, "That's a good question." But they've got money, and they've got players, and they got a hell of a coach. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, the nutty professor is kind of winning me over. He's done some good things there, and like you said, they're getting players. I mean, they got Damon Wilson through the portal, the Georgia edge, and he had 2 sacks, and that's a guy Georgia having the starting lineup. And what I was told from one of the Missouri insiders is that they got so much money, they're getting the guys Oklahoma used to get out of that region. Whoa. They're starting to beat Oklahoma. If you're looking for the difference, and we're going to find out about Missouri. They're they've got Kansas this week, and I guess this is a good Kansas team. It sounds like an oxymoron, but apparently this Kansas team is decent enough that the spread's 7 or 6.5 or 7, whatever it is. The game's in Missouri, it's surprisingly low to me. It looks like easy money to me, but anytime something looks like easy money, it's usually not.
Yes,
so
correct.
It'd be interesting to see what's going to happen with Missouri and their quarterback. They got the backup from Penn State. We'll see what this guy's made of, I suppose. We'll find out about Missouri. To me, this is kind of a pass-fail on the Tigers this week.
Yeah. So another one, you talk Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Arkansas. What I love about Mike, you have DawgNation, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Writers typically 99.9% of the time are your best guess because you think about what you're saying because you've written it. That's how we all learned. Your thoughts on Sam Pittman and Arkansas and what he's doing with Bob Petrino, one of the nice guys in college football.
You're talking about Sam Pittman, not Bobby Petrino, right?
Yeah.
So listen, I
tried to fool you.
I listen. People grow old and get wise and learn lessons, and I'm not a Bobby. Listen, Bobby Petrino's an offensive genius. I mean, that's a brilliant hire. That's how Arkansas's got to do it. Same deal. Got to have money. Got to have players. They've got very little, in-state talent to work with. They got to go into everybody else's backyards. And now that Texas is in the league and Oklahoma's in the league, I mean, it's an even tougher sell. Before you could say, hey, we're in the SEC, and if you don't go to A&M and you live out this way, this is close. Now you got Texas there. Now you got Oklahoma there. So I think Sam's a great recruiter. I think he's a good man. I think he understands football. I think their quarterback is probably one of the best kept secrets in the country. But do they, same thing with Lenore Sellers, do they have the supporting cast? And I don't know that they're there yet. And I don't know that they're going to get there this year. And I don't know that this year should necessarily decide the future. Well, if he doesn't do it this year, then what? Who are you going to go hire? What are you going to go do? You're going to have the same issue. If you don't get the best play. And oh, by the way, speaking of schedules from hell, look at what Sam Pittman was dealt when he came into the league. I mean, they leaned on Arkansas hard, and it is what it is. There's winners and losers in every schedule that comes out. I look at my fantasy football league schedule every year and say, why does this commissioner hate me? And I'm sure these coaches in the league say the same thing, right? How does Texas get a bye week the week before they play Georgia? I mean, and Georgia doesn't have a bye week. Who is that accidental? Did some randomized? I don't think so. So Arkansas, not necessarily a program you're going to take care of. Let's face it, you don't have a big base there. And they got basketball anyway, right? Is that what we tell ourselves,
Track and field, too.
Well, yeah, but it's not a revenue producer. So, and you wonder where that's going to go, by the way.
Yeah.
But I digress. I like Sam Pittman. I think Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino are a good base to build around. I hope the Arkansas people feel the same way.
Yeah. Frank?
I totally agree. Look, I love the fit that Sam Pittman is for Arkansas. He is Arkansas. And to Mike's point, who are you going to go get? I think you're better off staying the course. Look, Arkansas, they kind of be happy with 9 wins, 8 wins if he can get them up to that. I think the pressure at a place like Florida is so much more for a Billy Napier. We're going to see what he's got. We're going to see if that last part of last year was an anomaly or if it was a trend. I'm fascinated by the two teams. I'm really fascinated on which way they go in the direction. It's Florida and Auburn. I want to see what Hugh Freeze does. I think it was a great start. I watched almost every play of that game against Baylor. We had a big party. We were in South Carolina for the LSU game. We all had dinner and we all sat around and watched the Auburn game. I think Auburn looked really good. I want to see what he does. I think if Auburn can get to 8 to 9 wins, I think that would be a good improvement if they can win those tight games. But that's critically important. But the type of pressure that you're going to have at an Auburn and Florida is way more than what you're going to get at an Arkansas or Kentucky.
Yeah,
Just
Mike.
is.
Along that line, I think Kirby's smart. If I was a coach, I think I'd be like that. I love his passion. I mean, I know people that know him from his years in Tuscaloosa very well. They really love him. And these are all Auburn people. He is just one of those guys that, to me, in practice goes and talks not just to the ones, but the 2s and the 3s and the scout team and lets them know that they matter. That's just my view. He and his wife both have given money for endowed scholarship chairships, for the Terry College of Business at Georgia. He loves that place with every pound in his body. and the players get developed there. I heard and I read where he said, I tell guys if they want to leave, I go, you can leave and go to some other school, but if you stay here and get developed, look at the track record. You're close to that Georgia program, man, really close. You got a great site, podcast. Kind of expand on that and how he's continuing to have great defense when the rest of the league is all about points.
Well, I mean, that's Kirby's winning edge, right? I mean, they invest in great defensive prospects and develop them. And, they've had more guys. I don't need to tell you, they've had more guys drafted in the NFL than any school in the SEC of late. And, iron sharpens iron, right? When you've got a lot of great guys in the same room with you, they're pushing you and you're competing and you're measuring yourself up. It kind of helps you have that really high self-standard of excellence that, Nick Saban used to talk about. So, Kirby is all about the development, and they like to think that the quote unquote Kirby discount, right? Maybe you can't pay that extra $300,000 the kid wants, but you're going to tell him, hey, at the end of the day, you're going to have more value, if you play at Georgia because of what you go up against and the proven system that's in place than if you go somewhere else where maybe the competition every day in practice isn't the same, or the coaching expertise maybe doesn't have the proven track record. It'd be like kind of like buying a blue chip stock, right? Over time, we know this business. We know you can take your chance over here, but you are your own product, and you're trying to build your brand and your value. The issue is, and not to get too, I guess, political, but if we start to look at people in credit card debt and look at the state of our economy, a lot of these families can't wait 4 or 5 years for that money. That $400,000 more right now means a lot. Yeah. And so, you're maybe 25% of the kids you recruit are in a financial situation where $300,000 or $400,000 doesn't make a difference, but and it's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
You might get more later, but not necessarily, right? Now we're talking CDs, right? I mean, hey, 5 years from now, this will pay this, but you get this 3.5 in 8 months, you 5% in 5 years. So, I mean, we're really looking at a lot of dynamics here. But it comes down to having money. It comes down to being able to develop talent. And the fact that Kirby Smart is that blue chip coach, he's that proven commodity. He's got a great university to sell. They're, top 20 academic institution. When you go in there and sell these schools, there's a lot of boxes to check. Proximity to your players. There's a lot of in-state players. You can do a lot more in-state. Maybe they don't get NIL, but I bet you when they go home, mom and dad are driving a nice car and they're probably not paying for too many. There's a lot of advantages to having that in-state talent. The problem for Georgia, and it's a growing problem, is Georgia Tech. And I said this 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. I said, guys, why are you playing Georgia Tech? I said, LSU Deep Six Tulane is an annual rival.
Yeah, we did.
A long time ago, because it does them no good to play. There's nothing to be gained by playing Tulane every year. Oh, but it's right. Who cares?
No upside.
That's your competition. And now Georgia Tech is rising. They took it 8 overtimes. They're getting an extra $10 million to play in Mercedes-Benz. A lot of these guys, they don't get – if they get 2 or 3 guys that you wanted, that's 2 or 3 too many. Those 2 or 3 guys could end up making the difference. We just talked about that with Alabama losing 2 or 3 guys. They're in Atlanta. They're closer to the corporate sponsors you're trying to get into. Georgia, you have empowered your rival, and I don't get it. So – there's a lot of people that like this. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people like smoking cigarettes too. Where are they at now? We kind of figured it out. Hey, this wasn't good for us anymore. Hey, playing Georgia Tech ain't good for you, Georgia. Playing down in the swamp, you're playing instead of playing in the swamp, playing in Jacksonville, giving up that home recruiting weekend. Geez, we didn't win a title for 41 years. I wonder why. You gave up your best recruiting weekend every other year. Didn't make any sense. So, you don't know. Well, I don't know that it would have. I'm just saying it took you 41 years. Well, now we won one. Okay, and now they're going to pay you $10 million. They're going to be a new stadium. Now it makes sense. But for 40 years, you punted something that would have been better in your business model for tradition. At some point, you can't be held hostage by your traditions and the way you did things. And that's kind of into today. Teams can't do it like they used to. You got to go in the portal. You got to get the impact guys. You don't have a choice. LSU's showing you that right now. Ohio State showed you that last year. Quinshawn Junkins, Will Howard, Caleb Down, who's that center from Alabama that won the Remington, is the best center. They went out and bought a national championship.
Parker Brailsford, Yeah.
This is the new model, and
Yeah.
get with it or get left behind.
Mike,
Well-
there's an exact article of what you just mentioned right here in Tiger Rag, which I read yesterday.
Ron
I'm
Higgins.
telling you, it is the Tulane LSU example. Literally, it was just written, and it is exactly to your point. You have no upside whatsoever. And if you're in a recruiting battle with them, you absolutely don't want them doing that. You have to safeguard your brand, especially when it comes to money. And the little brother, they win either way. Even if they lose, they were gallant. And if they beat you, you're in deep trouble, right? So no, you're exactly right. I think Georgia and Georgia Tech, pull up this. You can go online. It's Tiger Rag. It is exactly the article that you point. It's the exact example of what you're saying.
Hey, he was asking. That's Ron Higgins, isn't it?
What's that?
Ron Higgins, write that.
Let me.
Yeah.
Y'all go talking, and I'm gonna look it up, and I'm gonna see.
As you asked about him, I love Ron Higgins. He went to St. Louis Catholic Church in Memphis for
Good
years.
writer.
Yeah, he is a great writer. We lost him in Memphis, and he took journalism with him.
We got him in Mobile. Ron was one of my mentors and still one of my good friends.
Yeah,
Todd Horn.
Todd
Horn was the writer that wrote it.
But
Fabulous
Ron,
article.
when you get Ron on, I mean, it's like having you, Mike. He's going to tell it like it is, and he sees it. So you look around the SEC. I tell you, South Carolina, and I'm sure it was an emotional game for Shane Beamer because of his dad and growing up Virginia Tech. I mean, he's a Hokie through and through, but he's getting paid by South Carolina. Your thoughts on Lenoris Sellers' performance? Roman Harper talks on this show every time about Lenoris. He goes, when he's on the way to the ground, he can still complete a 30-yard pass into coverage. That's a big deal. And also Joey Aguilar, Tennessee, no doubt got an upgrade. At least they don't have a pout face quarterback on the sidelines with 30 family members trying to run UT football. That's what I hear from a booster friend of mine at Tennessee. Said he was a hell of an athlete, but it was all the distractions. We don't need that.
Well, let me start with Nico. So Tennessee created that monster. Let's go back to recruiting and some laws they got changed just so they get that guy, right? Or some rules they got changed, the way they paid it. Remember, he was the $8 million high school quarterback.
Yep.
And a lot of people said, what is Tennessee doing? Tennessee created the monster. They brought his family there. They created the expectation. Okay. So let's not put it all on the kid. You mentioned the people around him. Yeah. Guys, and again, I've got a small snapshot. I only saw Nico a couple of times, but I remember watching that Ohio State game. And I remember this guy got the hell beat out of him. I mean, he got bent up, he got beat up, his helmet got cracked, and he got up every time. He got up after every play. He gave his all. He did everything he possibly could to win that football game, even when it was hopeless. I was so impressed with Nico. This guy keeps getting up. I mean, this guy took some hits, man. I mean, it looked like Freddie Kitchens in the 1990s at Alabama. Like, this guy just keeps getting up. This guy's a warrior, okay? So the negotiation, he wants receivers. He wants a better off. You know what? That happened at Georgia the year before. Carson Beck wanted all those things. And Carson Beck wanted more money. And Georgia paid it. They said, yeah, this is the price of doing business. And Tennessee said, oh, we're not going to. But what's interesting to me, and I always get in trouble, and I always say, man, I don't know why I do this. All I'm going to do is get all these Tennessee fans mad at me.
That's okay.
I'm going to do it again, okay? Rick Barnes came to Tennessee and said, if you don't pay me more, I'm going to UCLA. He did. You remember that? That happened, right? That was the deal. He was going to get more money or go to UCLA, correct?
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it came down to.
Yeah.
He ain't been to the Final Four yet. He just got a lifetime contract. You say, well, Nico beat Alabama and Florida, and you are in the playoff. Mission accomplished. Well, it wasn't him. Okay, well, it wasn't Rick Barnes on the floor either. So why? And Rick Barnes has got tens of millions of dollars of buyout money. Why are we bending for coaches that ain't got it done yet? Let's just call it out. Don't tell me if you didn't get to the Final Four in how many years. Did Rick Barnes do what he was hired to do at Tennessee yet? Did he get him to the Final Four? Did he win a national title? No. But you're giving in to his demands and made him the second highest paid coach in college basketball with a smile on your face, right? Because of how he's a coach. This is a new world, guys. Quarterbacks are important. He's a quarterback. He's a playoff quarterback. This is the market value. They are going to ask for better linemen. They're going to ask for better receivers. The same thing happened with Carson Beck. The same thing's going to happen all over the country every year with every quarterback that makes the playoff. He's going to want to renegotiate. He's going to want to make just like the NFL. Gosh, this model is like the NFL, isn't it? So my point on Tennessee is this, and I love Rick Barnes. I covered the guy. He's a fantastic coach. He's one of the Hall of Fame coaches I covered. I think he's amazing. I think he's a great cultural fit. I think he did a lot for the university beyond basketball, all of that stuff. But he lobbied you for more money when he hadn't got – Nico at least got the team in the playoff. Now, you asked about Joey Aguilar. Looked great against Syracuse. Yeah. We're going to find out. And he may be the guy. He's a gunslinger. He puts it – look at that interception touchdown ratio at Appy, though. What's going to happen when those are Georgia DBs back there? What's going to happen when there's pressure up front? Now, I'm not saying that's and he may go out, throw 400 yards and beat Georgia. I don't know. But I'm saying he has not faced adversity yet, and he has not faced stiff competition yet. Syracuse is pretty good, but they're not an SEC team. No. So let's slow the roll until the guy beats Georgia. If he beats Georgia, mission accomplished. Throw a parade because they've lost 8 in a row. And the next one they lose will tie the series record when Fulmer owned Georgia in the 90s. My point being that I'm not ready to vilify Nico. I'm saying this is the state of the times. A lot of people applauded Tennessee for standing up to the kid, and maybe more programs will do that. But you know what? While everybody is applauding that, there's other programs out there applauding too, saying, bring them to us. We'll pay them.
Yeah.
Great point. Example, they're awful, but there's going to be some good players that get away that are going to win other places.
Yeah, and you make a lot of great points, and you make people think and get out of their comfort zones on that. I just know from some Tennessee boosters how frustrated they were, but again, there's two sides to every story. Interesting thing that I'm like what Roman Harper says, these turnovers at App State. Why? I mean, they just don't make sense. Now, he didn't do it against Syracuse, but Dave Bartu comes on our show, Monday's College Football Matrix. He says, look, he was at App State for 2 years. He did not elevate the talent around him to get better. And he talks about quarterbacks, the biggest freak of them all, Cam Newton, elevating that team that would have won 7 or 8 games at Auburn to a 14-0 season. So, Mike, I will say this. You made a great point. If this was a courtroom and I was on the jury, I think you'd have had me just then. So, Frank, jump back in to our courtroom roundtable. I love it.
I just wanted to say, I agree with you. Tennessee is an interesting case. I mean, I applaud Heupel for, standing his ground. I admire him for that. You can't be held hostage. But to Mike's point, the kid got him into the playoffs. So we'll see. They're happy now. They think that they've got a good outcome. But we'll see come down the stretch. And speaking of the stretch, Rob, you had mentioned Lenore Sellers and South Carolina. Yeah. Look at their schedule. They play South Carolina State this week. Then they have Vandy at home, Missouri on the road, and Kentucky at home. There's a very good chance they come in to Tiger Stadium 5-0 to play LSU. And if they get through us, because that was a battle last year, and obviously the missed field goal, if the penalty, if Lenore Sellers doesn't get hurt, there's a lot of what ifs that would go on in that game. But if they can get through us, then they've got Oklahoma and Alabama at home. You could be looking at a 7-0 South Carolina team. So, look, there's a lot to be played, and we can't play the what if games. But I'm telling you, Shane Beamer, what he's done with that program. I watched Any Given Saturday, and right after the LSU, component, then they highlighted South Carolina. South Carolina has a lot of things going for them. They don't have the money that a lot of other places have, so it's going to be difficult for them to keep and sustain that type of program. But right now, Shane Beamer has those kids playing and believing. And it's going to be interesting. I don't want to look too far ahead because we got the Gators coming in 2 weeks. But that game against South Carolina in Death Valley is going to be a very good game.
And keep in mind, South Carolina has a bye week before they go to Tiger Stadium.
Yep.
So that's something. Mike, also in the SEC, Diego Pavia, he's not afraid to speak his mind. Yeah. And I don't care how tall he is. Everybody's obsessed with, how tall is Nick Saban? Who cares? Goats can be 5'8", they can be 6'8". It doesn't matter. But I want to say, Mike, real quick, Brad Bellamy, Landers Ford general manager's on with us right now. And Brad, we got Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, DawgNation on here with us. And Mike, if you can stay a few more minutes, we absolutely love having you on here. Brad, tell us quickly what's going on at Landers this weekend. And I know you have questions, obviously, about Alabama and the SEC, and we'll keep this ball rolling.
Hey, good morning, guys. Glad to be with you guys on this beautiful Friday morning. Rob, we continue to have, we ended up finishing number 4 in the country in expedition sales last month, number 1 in the region, Explorer sales. Just have a ton of momentum coming out of that golf tournament with all the units we got in inventory. We got the most inventory we've had in a long time as we've been loading up and ready to move them out. So we got 3.9% for 72 months on F-150s. We got 0 for 72 on Lightnings and Mach-E's. Just got off the phone with somebody this morning. I got 2 Mach-E's going to him today because they're such a great deal. So great things working on out here. All of our staff ready to go. The other thing we got going on this weekend, we got a display over at the Germantown Festival, supporting them out there. So we'll have 4 vehicles at the Germantown Festival, some of our sales staff, and just excited to support the Germantown community as we do all the communities around Memphis. So glad to be on here with you guys this morning, and exciting, follow up to Christmas last week, and a beautiful start to our college football season. It was the least upset I think I've been at about Alabama loss in 10 years. I wasn't angry. It was really weird. I was sitting on the back couch on my patio watching the game with my buddy when my daughter was swimming with her friends for her birthday, and it was what I expected. Like, I expected all week for us to struggle in that game. And all of you guys were like, Alabama's going to kill him. Alabama's going to kill him. Alabama's going to kill him. And so
I'm sorry.
I lost 3 parlays last week because I threw Alabama in there because everybody felt so good. Now, my locks last week turned out great. The teams I really liked last week turned out well. I was on another broadcast last Friday afternoon, went 5-0. Happy with that. But, man, it was a tough weekend for Alabama. And it was the same team we've seen, right? They can't play on the road. Outside of the LSU last year, that's the anomaly. But since the games have been awful. Too many penalties. It's like they're not ready for the game. They scored the touchdown, obviously, to start. But then after that, they just got punched in the mouth and couldn't recover.
Lack of discipline, lack of composure. It's un-Alabama-like, really. Yeah.
Mike, if you watch, you hear what Brad said, and I've had that feeling before with a team that you follow. It's so bad that you laugh about it, which is kind of scary because you're just going, this is just who we are. You're 14 games in. The numbers are, Nick Saban lost to 3 unranked teams his first year at Alabama in 2007. The next 16 years, they lost to 1 unranked team total. Kalen DeBoer's lost to 4 unranked teams in his first 14 games. They've lost 4 or 5 in a row.
And what makes it worse? Yeah. And what makes it worse, Rob, is that he's doing this with Nick Saban's players.
Yeah.
Nick Saban had that outcome with Mike Shula's players. Totally different thing. It's worse.
Yeah, Mike, expand on that. That's a great point.
Well, he's doing that with some of Nick Saban's players, okay? Because Justice Haynes ran for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns for the University of Michigan. Julian Sain, starting quarterback for the Buckeyes. And there's some receiver. It's this guy's name here. Kobe Prentice had a 33-yard touchdown catch for Baylor against Auburn. Yeah. So, as we said, Alabama did not retain their best players. They have a financial problem. When the Big Ten is buying your best players, you woke up one day and Alabama's best players are going somewhere else for money, okay? And, that's, pigs are flying, right? Used to be the other way around. Alabama had the highest paid players, right? What did Jimbo Fisher say? We've always had NIL. We didn't know it. Rick Barnes says that NIL stands for now it's legal. Come on, guys. It is what it is. If Alabama will pony up the money and keep their best players, they'll win these kind of football games. The money, the team, it's no different than the major leagues in baseball. The New York Yankees are something else. Yeah, well, so is their payroll, has been for decades. This is now a professional game. Now that players are getting paid, this is a professional model, and decisions need to be made in line with this being a professional model. The days of when I was young, born in Mobile, Alabama, turning on a football team, watching the Alabama Crimson Tide, knowing I was from that place where these players cared about that. And you always knew Alabama was going to play good in the bowl game because those Bama kids cared. They cared about the culture. They cared about who they were. That model's gone. That's a fairy tale. There's a few kids like that out there now, but for the most part, this is a financial model, and people are going where they're going to get paid, and they have opportunities to make more money. And Alabama's got to do business like that. And when you're paying Nick Saban $500,000 a year to advise, I mean, what's he advising them on? Keeping the uniform the same? I mean, he's not raising enough money to pay the NIL. He's not in the coach's office advising, Womack on what defense to call against the same 7 or 8 plays that Vanderbilt beat you with last year. So where is the Nick Saban influence? It's nice to say he's still yours. This means he's going to say nice things about you on TV. He's going to do that anyway. So that's $500,000 right there that can go in somebody's pocket. Now you paid $12 million to pay Kalen DeBoer's buyout. That's great. But can you imagine what $12 million would have done for players? So there's a lot of things here that have contributed to where Alabama football is. And then key injuries. Your running back, your defensive lineman, and then a quarterback. We don't know who the leader is. You didn't bring anybody to media day. If you don't know who the leader is, how do the players know who to follow? There's probably a little division in the locker room now. When you lose games, this is what happens when you get quarterbacks of equal talent. Who should get it? Who deserves it? Who do you think should be the guy? I saw a little bit of that at Georgia when Justin Fields was here. And Justin Fields, to be clear, was nowhere ready to pass Jake Fromm on the day. He couldn't run the offense. That's why Kirby had an open scrimmage for the whole fandom to see. So you could see Justin Fields would look one read and then run. And 7 years later, it's still happening in the NFL. And they're trying to simplify, because this is what but my point is, it's not just one thing. It's several things. And now it's a culture thing, because this team is backed into a corner, and they're either going to fold or they're going to come together. And all that work that they've done in team building, now it's going to be tested, because they got to get back on track, and they got to come up to Georgia in a few weeks, and they got to win a football game and serve notice that Alabama's still Alabama.
Yeah, another thing too that's interesting is Kirby talked on social media. He does it a lot about that sense of entitlement. That'll destroy a culture and a team faster than anything. Brad Bellamy, you know that. We all know that in the sales world. You make a big sale, I've always been taught, get right back on the phone and get sucker punched, because someone's going to tell you, no, it ain't that easy. The only easy day was yesterday. I love this season in terms of it being wide open, but you just nailed it. Born in Mobile. I knew you were smart, but Mike, did you ever grow up going to Constantine's and have the gumbo with the bay leaf and the crab claw?
I didn't get to live the life. Like you said, I grew up in Michigan. So my return to Alabama was via the 18th Airborne Corps Training Regiment down there at Columbus, Georgia, when we got to parachute in on my first jump in the 82nd.
You went to Fort Benning Airborne School?
Yeah.
Wow, 3 weeks. Hunters from the sky.
Yeah, I got to be dropped from the 250-foot tower. You want to talk about an amusement park ride? Let me tell you what, getting raised up by that thing. I was.
The ground comes up quick.
I was very, very fortunate to be able to serve active duty 3 years after high school and get college money and learn a lot about life. And then I was fortunate to cover 93 Auburn and an undefeated Terry Bowden team that wasn't on television. So you want to talk about a program that dealt with adversity and had to band together after 5-5-1 and 5-6 and be written off and be drugged through the mud with all the NCAA stuff. I've seen guys come together at programs before. It can happen with the right.
But don't feel bad. They've claimed that as a national champion. They're good.
They were the only undefeated team in the nation that year, Frank.
Hey, if somebody gives it to you, you got to recognize it.
Stay off my 58 championship, you robbers.
Robert. Rob, I think the other thing too, and Mike, those are some awesome points. They probably spent the money in the wrong places too. Ryan Williams looked like a megastar in that Georgia game last year, and since then he's really digressed. Drops throughout that game against Florida State, so they probably put some money just in the wrong hands. But the other thing is, I do think Florida State is a much better team than they were a year ago. One of the criticisms of Florida State last year was they had no toughness. They played that game tough and they had heart. And I think that was the big knock on Norvell in 24 was the team didn't come out to play and didn't have any aggression. And that was a different team against Alabama. So we'll see if that carries through the year. But my expectation now is after the first weekend of the season, I think the ACC is going to get 2 teams in the playoff, whether it's Clemson, Miami, or Florida State. I believe 2 of those 3 teams are going to make it in. We'll see what SMU looks like against Baylor this weekend. But I think that was a huge, huge weekend for the ACC. Not as great of a weekend for the SEC.
That's it. Look, there's a lot of people that want to take the SEC out, and you're right. You can't feel like you were born on third base and you hit the triple. That's what I think's happened. There's been a little bit of complacency crept into a lot of SEC power programs.
Well, I think there's been a lot of parity that's crept into the league as part of, and you say it's a problem, but can you imagine sitting down there around the table at the SEC spring meetings and say, guys, what's an optimal situation? Wouldn't you agree if everybody in the league was good, it'd be great, but it's not. Yeah. In fact, it's bad because when you look at the Big Ten and the teams ranked outside the top 60, there's a handful of games, handful of tomato cans. Write it down. The SEC, you got one or two teams that you kick around. Every other game's losable. You go on the road in the league. I did a study last year, and top 25 SEC teams on the road in SEC road games. Okay, they won about half the time. Historically, that's about 80 to 85% of the time that a top 25 team can play an SEC road game and win. Last year was closer to 50% because of the parity in the league. So now all of a sudden, we saw it. We had three lost teams. They don't get in. But the SEC schedule is not equal to the Big Ten schedule or the ACC or the Big 12. I mean, my goodness.
No doubt.
Look at the top 25 rankings. You've got 10 SEC teams. That's 10 out of 16 teams, guys, in your league. That's almost 2/3 of the league that's a top 25. At Big Ten, 6 out of 25. All right? That's 24%. Of the top 25 or 33% of your league that's in the top. So the concentration makes it such there's so much that's why Alabama could lose it at Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt's not a team you kick around. Now, if only there was a Northwestern or Purdue, even Nebraska. Look how watered Nebraska. What in the world are we doing here? Speaking of underachieving program, but you're talking, Iowa. Kirk Ferentz forever, 8-win seasons forever. I mean, there's talk about mediocrity throughout the league, right? Where that's a top-heavy league. ACC, same thing. We're talking about 3 or 4 teams that can make it. The other ones, we're not going to waste our breath on them. They don't got a pulse. So the SEC, though, everybody's good.
Yeah.
And unless the College Football Selection Playoff Committee recognizes the value of the wins and discounts the losses, you're going to continue to have this problem with the 12-team playoff. And that's why we'll go to 16 probably. And we'll eventually – I'll take another leap for you. Kirby kind of leaked this the other day when I asked him about it. He mentioned the bowls. I said, why in the world – what if you go 24-28 and you integrate the bowls into this? So I just completely ambushed your segment, completely went on the intangible there, Rob.
I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna drop you off here with that. Where I took it, I don't know why.
But Mike, let me say something. And Gary Stoken, I hate it. Announced he's going to retire.
That sucked, didn't it?
I love that man. I
wanted to be on the damn Chick-fil-A bowl committee. I set up that little seed when he was on, and now I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, and what he's done, I'm going to tell you. I mean, I'm saying this in serious. Brad Bellamy and Landers, what they do, Touchdown Club Memphis, for everything, like 6 different stadiums. My high school, Christian Brothers High School, the oldest all-boys Catholic school, I think in the country, 1871 on Adams. It started Tom Nick Stadium, Landers Field, the financial commitment that they've made. My son-in-law works out there, and he said, Brown, he said, Mr. Rob, he said, it is unbelievable, and thank you. But that's a company that commits like Chick-fil-A does in Atlanta. I love what Gary Stoken said. He goes, we went up there to South Bend with Mal Moore to look at the College Football Hall of Fame, and a bunch of old, yellow, dingy newspaper clippings in glass cases. We walked around for half a day, and he said, Gary, there's not anything in here about Coach Bryant or Coach Butts or Coach Jordan or Coach Dooley or Coach Nealon, Charlie Mack. What's going on? And Gary looked at him and said, well, let's move it to Atlanta. They went to Dallas. 39-1 vote. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys soap opera, he dissented. They go back to Atlanta. He said, we called a meeting with Mr. Truett Cathy and his sons, Robert, and I'm serious, I think one of them's name is Bubba, maybe a nickname for, whatever. They sat there. He gave him a quick sales pitch. Truett Cathy looked at him and he goes, we need to move the Hall of Fame here. We can do this, this, and this. We got this airport, MARTA, everything. Truett Cathy looked at him and goes, well, is it good for Atlanta? He said, yes, sir. And he goes, well, we in. His son's going, well, Dad, you need to take a look at it. And he goes, Gary, is it good for Atlanta? He goes, yes, sir. And he goes, we in. And he gave him $8.5 million check. I mean, every time you go to Chick-fil-A, and by the way, there's one that's opening in the next couple of weeks in downtown Memphis across the street from St. Jude Children's Hospital. Man, that one gives you chills thinking about that in the Ronald McDonald House. But anyway, Mike, I know you got to go. I didn't know. I covered Fort Benning. That was my beat for 2 years at Channel 3.
Is that right? Okay.
I went to Ranger School Monday through Friday. I went out to Airborne. I flew in the planes. I got to do, and General Spiegelmeyer was the commanding general at the time. And then it was General Kenneth Lure, and he tried to recruit me. He said, Brown, you're exactly what we need. 90 days of basic and OCS, 3 weeks airborne, 4 weeks of RIP, Ranger Indoctrination Program. You're a second lieutenant platoon leader. Hoorah! How can you say no to that? And I said, General, it's hard to tell a general no. And then I ended up getting into this mess and the financial advisor. But Mike, thank you so much for more than you know for sharing your time with us. Let people know how they can follow you. You're a great writer, great man, great dad, and soon to be grandfather. But this is great stuff. You, like Roman Harper, are a truth broker, and we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate that. So, I write for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and AJCsports.com, and excuse me, getting all choked up here. DawgNation.com is our free website. We got a lot of stories up on that. You can find me on Twitter at Mike Griffith 32. We got a DawgNation YouTube channel podcast that you can watch, at your leisure. I do a Monday night show called On the Beat with a guy named Cody Chaffins, and we chop up a lot of Kirby Smart stuff, and we do a little SEC stuff. We got pick shows. We have a lot of fun with it. Obviously, the Georgia fan base is as all the SEC programs are. Truly, that's another thing that separates the SEC from some of the other leagues that you guys had mentioned. But these are great times for the SEC right now. I know the Big Ten has kind of wrestled away the last couple titles, and they're buying up all these Alabama players. But somebody over there at Alabama is going to get pissed sooner or later and reach into the pocketbook and say, all right, let's start writing the checks to keep these best players. And you keep the best players, and now you got leaders, and it makes it easier on your coaches. But again, this season's not over, and there is all, you guys know, there is all sorts of drama and unexpected things awaiting us. When we think about last year, week 1, and what would unfold before our eyes, we could have never predicted it. And we're going to see some crazy stuff, and there's going to be some heroes and villains and coaches fired and surprise success stories. And right now, I mean, it's spin the wheel, man, because it's awful hard to predict, Frank. I'm having a hard time. I was 6-10 against the spread in my SEC picks last week, and I don't know what to make of it. It's tough.
Well, I know one thing. If 2011 taught us anything, Alabama ain't dead till you put the stake in their heart and pound that thing so far it goes to China.
Yeah. Dead. Well, I just say that, Mike, I want to be an airborne ranger.
Yeah. Well, those were the rated G cadences. I remember the other one, Rob.
I heard of the decorum prohibits me.
Met a girl in Thailand.
Sally should have never gone downtown. I'll just tell you that. She should have never gone downtown.
Mike, we'll do it again soon. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, okay?
All right, guys.
Yeah, Mike.
Hey, man, great stuff as always. Get out the Landers Ford this weekend. Anytime. Ask for Brad Bellamy. No matter where you are watching, we are so blessed to have we broke 100,000 people watching a show last week. That is because we have a great, incredible audience, the best guests, the best executive producer around. It ain't about one individual. It's about the team every time you do it. We got 16 children doing this show, the SEC. But both of y'all, thank you so much. We'll wrap it up and do it again next Friday. Let me say something about Landers as well. And then also Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They're open Monday through Saturday, as they say in the South, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All the boots, the Filson, the barber, all the great clothes, the gear. Get out there, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. Also, Rumble Boxing Gym, how you fight is how you live, and the Gummies, Lights Out Gummies, Pro Athletes Hemp Association. They work, no sleep hangover. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Have a great weekend, everybody. For executive producer extraordinaire Brendan Martin, I'm Rob Brown. See you Monday.